We are live with Romance Happy Hour here. Dawn and Dylan, of course. We are joined today by Cheryl L-G Trent. Thank you for coming, Cheryl.
Excited to be here.
Good. Awesome. We're excited to have you. So, like always, Dylan, what are you working on?
I am working on an event this weekend. I'm in Texas. I drove down yesterday halfway and drove the rest of the way today. So I'm going to be at Readers and Rita's this weekend. I'm excited about that. So I am coming to you from my mom's house where I'm visiting, and I'm going to be here for a couple days to visit afterwards. So yeah, I already had brisket nachos tonight, so I'm going to get my fix of Tex-Mex because I miss it.
It's technically holiday season. You get those tamales.
Right?
Go to HEB, go get your tamales.
Yep. Yeah, there is no shortage of good food around here.
Yeah, meme I posted the other day. Like the Google holiday foods Googled, according to region or whatever, in the South is like, we don't Google food recipes.
Google? Maybe grandma.
And now they say search it up. Now it's not Google anymore. Kids say search it up nowadays. Like I'm always like, search what up? Where do you want me to search it?
I am not hip to that slang. I did not know that.
Yeah. It drives me nuts. I'm like, say Google, like regular people.
Right. Yes.
They're like, but you're not using Google, Mom. I don't understand. You could be using Siri or like, all right.
I forgot I had a book come out earlier this week too. So yay.
Yay. What book?
It's been a rough couple days. November is for Nate in the Mountain Men of Mustang Mountain series.
Yes.
So
nice.
And I don't have one to show you because my paperbacks weren't there yet. But yeah, it's the second to last book in the series. So we have December coming out, and then we will have a big surprise for everybody as to what's happening in 2024.
So was that just you, or was that you and Eve?
So that's me and Eve, and then Casey Rose. She will have the last book in the series. December is for Dean. Will come out the first Monday in December. So
nice. Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
If Casey
a whole year in Mustang Mountain already. So
crazy. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But one of my road trip snacks was the huckleberry licorice that we had in our Kickstarter. Supporter
man.
So I got to snack on huckleberry licorice on my way down. So it was good.
I'm addicted to that. I keep it in my car for car candy. And
it's good.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Huckleberry anything is good.
It really is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just had a release this week too on the 7th. Saved by the Fire Chief, and which I'm going to be reading from tonight. And that one, I'm just so glad that I got it written.
That seems to be like a recurring theme this year. I'm just glad I got the book written.
I'm just so glad I got it written and out there. So please like it. But
I mean, every time it's a birth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And a process.
Absolutely.
Holy cow. Yeah. So, Cheryl. Oh, and what I'm giving away is the Saved by the Everyday Hero, which is the series starter collection. So it's a collection of a bunch of different authors. Into the Flames, which is kind of a series starter for the Saved by the Fire Chief. That world. It's a world.
Mm-hmm.
So you get both of them, Saved by the Everyday Hero and Saved by the Fire Chief. So that's what I'm giving away, ebook. So Deanna, even you can win all the way over there in Australia. So just so you know, I've figured out how to send her books. We went through this the last time she won one of my books. So I got it figured out.
Regular mail or ebook?
No, ebook. Because I was I'll
okay.
just give you an Amazon, and then they wouldn't do it. And then I tried to get her an
Yeah,
Australian Amazon, and they wouldn't let me buy it. So
you
I'm
have to
like,
create an account in the other country. I know it's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was crazy. So
Technology sometimes for as awesome as everything is supposed to be, sometimes it's, it just doesn't
it's
work.
so crazy sometimes, yeah.
So
So Cheryl, tell us a little bit about you, what you write, what you're giving away, anything else you want to share?
Okay, absolutely. Well, technically, what I have coming out right now that just came out is Daughter's Fortune, Not a Pirate Book, and it is my first book that I have to print, and it will be part of a series. It is a historical fiction set in 1688. And one of the reasons that I wrote this is because I am a historian. I have a degree in ancient and medieval culture, and I really enjoy Jane Austen and historical fictions like that. I love Dinah Galvadon's Outlander series. I thought that was a brilliant, she did a great job with that, blending history with the romance and all of that and everything. So that's kind of my wheelhouse and where I'm starting for my print book. But I actually also have 6 novels available on Kindle Vella, and of those is a historical mythology. It's called Medusa, Her Story. And
ooh,
then
fun.
I had, yeah, and that one, I do call that one a historical mythology. So I do
Mhm.
use my degree again. And I tell you a story of Medusa using the research, but doing it not from a male lens. And so that one is currently available on the Kindle Vella, and we're working to get that one to print right now. So,
Awesome.
as you
Perfect.
said, it's a process. I'm in the middle of my final edits before I send it over to format, and I'm like, oh. So, but I have those. I would consider myself a debut author and a baby author, but I have been writing and doing stuff for individuals since my early 20s. This is just the first time that I have actually had time to actually publish my work and put it out and actually get paid for it, which is nice. So,
Oh, fun.
and one of the other reasons it's taken me this long is because I'm also a dyslexic and neurodivergent, and that's a challenge when
Mhm.
it's hard to spell words and put sentences into a format that other people can understand.
Yep.
So I enjoy the compliments when people tell me that I appear to be a well seasoned written author, because I have been honing this skill for quite some
Yeah.
time. So
Congratulations. That is
yeah,
a
Yeah,
major
yeah.
accomplishment. So,
Yeah,
I mean, writing a
yeah.
absolutely.
book
I'm
is
really
hard
excited.
enough, but yeah,
Yeah,
to write
yeah.
it with, an extra challenge on top is quite an accomplishment. So, way to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
And you are,
So
we just talked right before we went live that I drove probably right by you as I cruised through the middle of the country. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm in Oklahoma right now. I'm in Oklahoma City. You probably did go through
I did
Oklahoma
then.
City
I drove
because
right by
you
you.
have to.
That's where you take
Because
the
you have
turn,
to.
like the one
Yep,
turn on the
yep,
highway
yep.
from here
It
to
is.
Minneapolis. Yep.
Yeah, little known fact is that Oklahoma City is actually a one of those nexus points for traveling the country. Is that it's one of
Mm.
the spots that you kind of have to go through to get through everywhere else. That's where, if you know what Route 66 is,
Hmm.
Mhm.
this is the origin or the center point for Route 66. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
fun.
kind of
I
cool.
went down a little bit of Route 66 on one of our cross country ventures,
Hmm.
but I don't know if it was Oklahoma, but yeah, it was fun. Of course, and it was right after Cars, so when
Yeah,
I had
Oh,
little
yeah,
right,
kids,
yeah.
so
right.
it was exciting.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Cars did a great job of reviving that and be able to do a lot of preservation for Route
Hmm.
66 and stuff like that. So it was
Yeah.
really cool.
yeah, that's awesome.
I know. I told my husband that, someday I would like to, maybe, I don't know, if we ever have an empty nest and have extra time, to drive Route 66. And he's like, but there's not really anything cool left there, is there? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, there
There's
is.
a lot
Yeah.
of cool stuff left there. I mean, it's not in
On
its
your
heyday
on
anymore,
your
but
on your way back, if you see it, Chandler is considered that point for the
okay.
our section of Route 66, and they
Mm.
have a bowling alley there that has all these signs and all of. And they have in the parking lot. all of their lights are the old gas signs. So they
Okay.
have all the cool lit up gas signs. Yeah, and they have a whole. I think they even have the museum there. I think that's where the museum's at.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I will check
Yeah.
that out. Very fun. So, Dawn, did you survive Halloween? We haven't talked for a couple weeks.
Oh,
I know
yes.
that you normally do big decor. I didn't see you post any pictures this year.
No, I was just so
Okay.
busy I didn't do anything fun. And my
Okay.
boys are like getting older now, so they wanted to be a zombie and what was the other? A pirate. So it wasn't really
Okay.
anything exciting going on here.
Well, that's
But
exciting. I know.
yeah,
I kind of like, I felt, I don't know. I guess it's just one of those like growing pains when your kids stop choosing the cute costumes and they just want to
yeah,
be like
a
scary.
zombie.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to
sad when that
convince my
happens.
husband. Sorry, Dylan.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm trying to convince my husband though, because we have a brown house and it has a white trim. And so our town is doing a contest for Christmas lights. And so I'm trying to convince my husband to let me turn my house into a gingerbread house. So I don't
Yes.
know if that'll work, but
There's some great
Yes.
tutorials out there on giant candies
yeah.
and
Yeah.
frosting and all that.
He's like, that's gonna be so expensive. I'm like, dollar store, baby. Dollar
Yep.
store.
Yep. Oh, that would be fun.
Yep.
Oh, did
So
you see
we'll
that
see.
Catherine's oldest was a zombie cheerleader this year?
Oh, funny.
That's a great idea.
Zombies. Yeah.
Oh.
My one, he was he was a pirate, but his little brother got him a pair of spurs when he went shopping once. And so he's been dying to wear his spurs somewhere. And he says, "Mom, do pirates wear spurs?" And I'm like, "No,
Sure,
bud,
it's okay.
sorry."
Just when they ride all the seahorses.
Hey, just tell him a steampunk pirate. He can do steampunk
Yeah.
next year and do some
That's right.
spurs.
He can
And
wear
then
spurs.
I think a little bit later, and I don't know if it's just Facebook hearing our conversations, because I'm pretty sure I said, "No, you're a pirate, you're not a cowboy." And you know that they have like those fake Halloween costume memes that go around there, and it makes it look like real. It was a cowboy pirate, and I'm like, okay, like
Someone's
Facebook
always
is hearing
listening,
me.
Dawn.
Somebody's always listening.
Someone's always listening.
Yeah, I am also a professional costumer and seamstress, and
fun.
so I actually this year kind of gave up all of my stuff to my kid because I pretty much gave up all my worldly goods when I moved, but I still got to make an Oogie Boogie, so I was very excited about that. Oogie Boogie from
Yeah.
Nightmare Before Christmas, but yeah, no,
Oh.
Halloween is always a big deal for us.
Fun.
I didn't have any trick-or-treaters. Well,
Oh no.
they came to my house, but none of my kids went trick-or-treating this year because they all
Oh, yeah.
decided they were too old.
Yeah.
Never too old.
Well, we bought full-size candy bars, but we're kind of on the other side of town from where everybody goes.
Mhm.
So we've been buying the full size to lure people over here. Just like, hey, our house is cool too.
Mhm.
And so like told people about it. And we had a couple kids trickle in and out, maybe 3 or 4 people. But then the next day my son goes to school and they all get home, they're doing their homework, and we hear somebody knocking on the door, and we open it up. It's 2 girls from his class coming for candy bars. And I'm like,
The next
they're like,
day,
Lane said if we come and knock on the door, he'll give us some full-size candy bars.
did they even like wear a mask or anything?
No,
Or
they
there
were
was
Oh,
just
come
giving
on.
us
You got to
candy
at least
bars.
show up in
no
costume.
effort whatsoever, huh?
Even the next day, put something on. Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, it's getting hilarious with the kids are getting old enough that they're kind of out on their own now. And my
Mhm.
son just went to the park with these same girls today for 20 minutes, and it was just around the corner, so
Mhm.
but that was his first venture out by himself. So they're all getting to the age where they're starting to girls are starting to come over.
Mhm.
It's kind of fun watching that happen, but
I'd be worried, Dawn, if your son went out with two girls at
yeah.
the same time as a
Well,
romance novelist.
oh,
I'm just
yeah.
saying.
Well, luckily he's
Be
only
careful,
10,
Mama. Be
11.
careful.
Well, yeah, 20 minutes. So, and they were at the
Yes.
park
A
next to the
lot can
sheriff.
happen in 20 minutes, girlfriend.
Next to the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Well, the marshal's
Now
office.
she's just setting up the plot.
I'm just setting up the
Exactly.
plot. It is, yeah. I mean, so Darby is like an old west town. All the buildings are. The marshal's office literally looks like an old school marshal's office, has bars in the windows and all that. And they have two jail cells in the back part of the door. It's pretty
Mhm.
cute. I love Darby. It's very quaint and cute. But
Again, she just sounds
yeah.
like she's setting up for a
Yeah. Yeah, for
romance
my
there.
next book in this series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, you're reading first
Yeah.
grade, right?
I am, yes. That way I can drink and not slur my words. So, just kidding. No, I'm so tired today. But yeah, so I am Dylan, would you pop me off? I'm gonna kind of set it up here if that's okay. Would you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, would
Okay.
you do the
Yes.
micromanaging of the videos? Thank you. Yeah, so I'm actually gonna start reading from the chapter 1. Um, and there's not really much to set up. So here we go. You know those memes where the short girl is climbing on the grocery store shelves or has her butt sticking up while she reaches deep into the washing machine? Yeah, that wasn't Claire Mason. In high school, she never had a date because she was too tall for almost every man in school, and those guys that were taller than her were jocks. The only guy in her life was James, and aside from the kiss when they were 6, he'd been more like a brother to her. He'd wanted more She'd wanted more when she was 14, but that was old news. Now, at 30, James Wade towered over her by a few inches, although at 5'8", it wasn't like she was a giant. She was just her. Maybe people thought she was awkward because of her black-rimmed glasses, where the lenses cost more than the frame so that she didn't have to run around with Coke bottle eyes, or the fact that she was a little thicker than those tiny little women in the means. Either way, Claire didn't care. She usually saw beauty through her camera lens, and right now that was in the form of 11 hot firefighters. But where the hell was the fire chief? Her Mr. November. Okay. Okay, Mr. March. She popped her head out from behind her camera. The slight chill from the early September rain drifted through the open fire station door, but the sun gave a golden light she loved. Claire liked fall, and it was fast approaching. The cooling months meant no more forest fires and no longer having to worry if James and his volunteer fire crew would make it off the mountain alive. Today, she focused on photographing them for the next year's calendar. Maybe toss the axe over your shoulder. And Sadie, can you give me some more smoke? God, she loved her job, and not just because they got to stare at the hot rookie on the other side of her camera. She got to. Sorry, that was a mistake on my part. She loved creating art, showing the world a whole new way of seeing things. Usually that came in the form of Old West photos at the town's only tourist trap photography studio, but today she got to take pictures for her first ever Cold Springs Volunteer Firefighters calendar. Sure, it was a little cliche, but men didn't exactly have the best ideas when it came to fundraising. Although she'd been the one to approach Sadie about helping her create the calendar, it was the chief's idea. Unlike most of his ideas, this one was a good one. Okay, he usually had good ideas, but she liked to pretend that he didn't. Growing up next door to him, he'd always been there. He was the boy next door, her best friend, even during that awkward year in high school when they didn't talk to each other in public. So here she was, making sure the rookie's pecs were greased up enough to look like he'd just been sweating shirtless in the middle of a fire. Because lots of firefighters run around shirtless in fires, right? Still, she wasn't one to complain. Claire snapped a few more pictures of the rookie and stepped back. Has anyone seen the chief? He said he was going to be a little late. He had to shoot out today so he could get off at work until 4:30. Sadie responded, struggling to keep the baby deer from bolting free. Claire watched her friend, grateful for her help. and even more grateful that the ankles she'd sprained during a summer forest fire had healed enough that she could keep up with the baby deer. Damn shootouts, Claire bit her bottom lip. I still can't believe he took that job as an outlaw at the new Living Museum thing that started up last week, the rookie responded, setting a large cooler full of ice and bottles of water on the side of the truck. Right, I forgot half of the town now lives in 1850. Sometimes she wished the town hadn't just turned itself into a living museum of the past, a live ghost town, if you will. But they did, so she made the best of it by dressing up tourists as cowboys and saloon girls. But at least the new museum has brought in some jobs. She peeked into her camera one last time as the rookie set down his axe and walked out of view just as the fire chief clambered through the door, still dressed as the outlaw he played. Claire turned towards him, plopping her hands on her hips. Typical. Always the last one to show. How in the world did you get to be the boss? My good looks. James flashed his oh so familiar smile, one she both hated and loved in high school, but that was years ago. She'd long since given up that crush, especially after what he did to her just before graduation. Not that she was still mad about it, but she had been back in high school. Mind if I go change? She extended her hand towards the station's sleeping quarters. Please. I'll be back. Oh, I'll be back, Sadie said, wrangling the baby deer as best she could. I just need to swap the animals out. 10 minutes later, James emerged from the back in nothing but his fireproof pants, boots, and suspenders. He swiped up a bottle of baby oil where the rookie had left it and turned towards her, fumbling with the baby-proof lid. Finally opening it, he chuckled and held it out to her. Will you grease me? No, yes, she wanted to say, but straightened her back and swallowed hard as moisture pooled in her mouth. All the fantasies she'd had about him before the end of their senior year flooded back into her memory. 10 years wasn't a lifetime, but it wasn't yesterday either, and all of those rampant emotions and tear-filled nights were nothing more than a memory now. In less than 2 steps, he stared down at her, tilting his head the way he always did when trying to ooze charm. His lips curled back in that sexy ass grin he always got whenever he was trying to convince her to do something for him. And oh boy, was she used to it. She experienced more than her share of, Claire, can you help me with my homework? Claire, I'm bored, come hang out. Or her less than favorite, Claire, don't tell anybody I kissed you, okay? That would ruin my reputation. And she'd done whatever he said because back then she was the introverted girl next door and who just couldn't say no when he looked at her that way. Not now. Now she was strong, independent, and had just enough pain and experience to know then or since then to know how strong she was. Claire, he gestured toward his back. My back, please. Uh, didn't didn't you want to work out? Leo, one of his newer firemen, interrupted and slapped the back of the newest rookie on the team. The rookie mumbled in response, and the two disappeared into the back room, leaving James alone with Claire for the shoot. Although Sadie was tucked in the corner dealing with all of the animals the sanctuary brought over for the pictures, she shook herself out of her stupor, rolled her eyes, and grabbed the bottle from him. Okay, but only because you're late, and I'm going to have to charge you time and a half. Deal, since this is for charity, time and a half of 0 is 0, but I'll give you whatever I have in my pockets. His body shook beneath her palms with a chuckle. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a pair of black gloves, holding them up for her to see over his shoulder. I guess you get work gloves. They're sturdy, no holes, fire resistant. I'd say they're worth time and half of nothing. She rolled her eyes, but let the corners of her mouth tip up slightly in a smile. Stop moving. Okay, then, no gloves. They're too big for you, anyways. You've got tiny hands. He chuckled and turned to face her. Remember that time I tried to teach you how to play football? You couldn't even throw it without 2 hands. Claire popped her hip out and formed an L with her finger. Look at these fingers. They can't throw a stupid football, but they can speak for themselves. She extended her hand further as he flinched slightly, his eyes glittering. I thought you were going to flip me off for a second there. Nope, she chuckled and rested the L on his forehead. Loser? He questioned, smiling. She nodded smugly until he reached up and grabbed her hand, bringing it down to his chest. He no doubt felt the thump of her pulse against the pad of his warm thumb. The muscles in her body tensed and her breath grew shallow. God, she had to get herself under control. It had been a while since any man had touched her, but this wasn't just some guy, this was James. She tugged her hand back to her side, and he turned his back to her once more, shaking a thumb at his back for more oil. We've barely hung out since I moved back, he said. That's because you don't live at home like me, and you're too busy shooting at people and fighting fires. So, how can I make up my tardiness if you won't take my gloves? He brought the moment back around, shaking the gloves over his shoulder. She let her tense shoulders relax once more. I'll find another way to charge you for my time. She shook more oil into her palm. Oh, I got it. You can fix my mom's stairs. Did that bottom step come loose again? Yeah, Claire sighed and rubbed oil over his shoulder. Ever since Dad died, Mom hasn't really kept up on the property, so now that I'm here, I get to do it all. Claire the carpenter. That's catchy. Maybe you should have gone into the wood handling business. Oh, God, shut up. She smacked him on the shoulder. Okay, fine. I'll take you out for dinner to make up for it, like the old days. He twisted around and took half a step closer to her. My chest, please. What date? She dropped her hand and glared. We never went on a date. I took you to the Burger Bee, remember? He tossed his gloves on top of the fire truck. Oh my gosh, is he serious? She scoffed. That was not a date. He tipped one eyebrow up and dropped his chin a fraction of an inch. Are you sure I remember paying? A hot dog at the only fast food restaurant in town because you got grounded from your truck and needed a ride is not a date. It's gas money. Okay, how about this? To make up to make it up to you, let me take you out for a beer when we're done. Deal. Claire bit her lip as she reached up and rubbed oil over his pecs. Not quite sure why she was torturing herself this way. Ever since James returned to Cold Springs, he'd been trying to get her to go out on the town with him like they used to in the old days, as friends. Living at home, though, she'd opted to work and hang out with her mom. It was about time she gave in to James. The problem was going out as friends with him was that's all they'd ever been, and that's all they ever would be. So she'd gotten over her young crush on the boy next door and moved on. Shortly after she graduated, she met Brady and fell in love, or so she thought. She still didn't know why he left. James must have felt her vibes because the muscles along his jawline tightened and he straightened his back. He dipped his head low to catch her gaze. You're thinking about him, aren't you? She plastered on a smile she knew didn't reach her eyes. No. Liar. It's fine. It was years ago. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. She scoffed. I won't make that mistake again. Your mouth is bigger than your promises. Claire, that was over 10 years ago. I thought you were past that. Every time I talk to you, the rest of the town knows my business, she argued. Used to. I haven't lived in Cold Springs for over a decade until this year. Regardless, I'm keeping my mouth shut when it comes to you. I've got secrets. Want to hear them? He waggled his eyebrows. No. Claire stepped back, distancing herself from him. Well, she didn't hate him. Things weren't like they were back then. They were grown now and had different lives and different likes and needs. Like she didn't need him to fix all of her problems anymore. She figured out how to do that on her own. Well, except the damn stairs at her mom's house. She could use them for that. I'll tell my mom to expect you to drop by. I'll swing by tomorrow after I'm off my shift, he said. Okay. She finished rubbing the oil on him, trying not to focus on the way her hand slid across his abs. The muscles in his body rippled beneath her palm, and her breath caught in her chest. Damn, no matter how old James Wade got, he was still hot as hell. She studied the little freckle on his pec, and that's when she remembered. He was the only one who wouldn't be shirtless. Damn it! She slapped her forehead, instantly regretting it when baby oil splattered across her brows. She twisted the cap back on. What? He questioned, reaching up to swipe at the baby oil on her forehead. You're the only one that won't be shirtless, since you're the chief and all. She stepped away from the tingle of his finger, tugged a fireman's jacket off the wall, and tossed it to him. Put this on. Sadie will be back in a minute with the rescue animal you're going to get adopted. She grabbed the gloves from off the fire truck. And I'm taking these. Hope you have a spare. With a single raised eyebrow and a knowing smile, he chuckled quietly. Tugging the jacket on, he took a stance in front of the camera. I've got 2 extra pairs, but those are the only ones I have with my initials sewn into them. Claire tilted her head. A gift from your mom. He chuckled. How'd you guess? Fine, consider them collateral. I'll give them back after we're done shooting the calendar. She shoved them into her camera bag. As you wish. He quoted the movie she'd obsessed about one year and forced him to watch every day for weeks. Needing a moment, she twisted on her heel and hid behind her camera, pretending to adjust the settings. She just tortured herself by touching James Wade's perfectly chiseled body and letting him distract her with that playful banter they hadn't had in years, and for no damn good reason other than she let him distract her. Not again. Okay. Where am I at here?
All right.
Done.
We're
The end.
back.
No, not the end. The end of chapter 1.
Woot. So, friends to
Yeah.
lovers. And is that town based off of anywhere in particular?
Sort of. Yeah. No. I mean, we're not like a living museum, but it's such a super cute town that I just wanted to make a living museum.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit based off of Darby, but yeah. Our marshal walks around in regular police clothes, though, not in Wild West clothes. Oh,
Bummer.
yeah.
Of course, Darby is already on the map because of the stuff
Yellowstone.
that goes on there. But yeah, you probably get attract a whole bunch of new tourists if you turn into
I
a living
know.
museum. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, I know. Well, I kind
How
of
would
took
you
it like
break that
they're.
up?
Yeah.
What time period are we going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you could
Yeah.
do like, January through March is this decade. And, I don't know. You could just split it up. But no, that would
Yeah.
be fun. And so this is part of a shared world, right?
Yes. Yep. Not a town. It's the shared world is mostly it's just rescue heroes.
Got
So
it.
it's just
Okay.
about
Shared theme.
yes, it's shared themed world. So
Okay.
yeah, anything from surgeons and EMTs to
Mhm.
cadets. I don't know, cadets in the cadets and military and police. I of
Okay.
course tried to get military, but
Great.
I won the raffle for the firefighter, so I'm like, "Oh, I gotta learn a bunch of stuff about firefighting."
And so is this, will there be others? Like, are you building a series around this book, or is this just kind of a one-off?
I think I will eventually, but I have so
Mhm.
many other books right now that I've gotta kinda get out there
Mhm.
that I might do more. I have one that I've heard already started that also takes place in this town, and that's another reason I had kind of placed it here, that
Mhm.
it's more of a police, officer one, so, yeah, we'll
All
see.
right.
Yeah.
Very fun.
I
Well,
know, I don't see we don't have very many questions today.
we have no
Yeah.
questions so far.
And Karen's here. Karen!
I know.
Karen's
I
dropping
know.
the ball.
I know. I think Karen might be tired from Karen's
Might
been
be.
all over the place,
Yeah.
doing a lot of traveling lately. So yeah. So do we want to have Cheryl go ahead and read, or do we
Yeah.
want to chat? Because I mean, we can totally chat and talk about
Karen
questions.
said she's about to pop a few. Yes, we do want a few questions, Karen.
Yes. Yeah. Only 7 book signings this year for Karen.
Oh,
That's more than us, Karen. Karen has attended way more book signings than we have.
yeah.
So,
I do my first one next weekend. I'm very
oh,
excited.
fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun.
Where is that?
Yeah.
That will be at Full Circle Bookstore, which is a local bookstore, a big one, but a local bookstore in Oklahoma City, and that'll be on November
Oh.
18th.
Oh,
And
congratulations.
yeah, very excited about that. They do a great job of supporting local authors, and so I'm going to have fun with that. But then I'll start doing the circuit as well. I used to do it with my costuming, so I kind of already have my ins and
Mhm.
know how it works.
Great. Well,
Yes.
you asked for it, Dawn, and you got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So we've got our first question from Karen. Do you hide any secrets in your books that only a few people will find? And we'll have both of you answer that.
So,
I think we already know that I do. And I'm going to bring up the beaver because that is one of our secrets
I mean, the
that
beaver
only,
is technically mine. You know that, right?
Well, it's both of ours. You're the one
Um,
that told me to insert a beaver.
I
I was
know.
the first one with the beaver in the book.
No, I had the beaver in the book before I told you to insert the beaver.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. That's why I said to insert a beaver in your book
No.
because I had
Okay,
done
then I
it.
was second. Because I was second. Yeah. So just so you know, Cheryl, the joke is I was writing a logging book, a historical logging book, and I got brain freeze or writer's block. And I was like, Dylan, what do I do? And she said, when in doubt, insert a beaver. And it'll work either way because you're writing historical logging and also romance.
Yep.
So that's the joke. And
I like it. I
our
like it.
our loyal viewers know our big joke. So yeah, that's my little nugget, secrets in my books.
But the beaver came from the nuisance beavers on my lake,
Hmm.
which is how I had beavers on the brain.
Yeah.
Because we have a little teeny tiny cabin in northern Minnesota, and the very first lake association meeting we went to, they were talking about all the nuisance beavers on the lake, and I thought it was hysterical. And they were talking about how they were going to have to hire a professional beaver trapper.
Hmm.
So yes, so
Does he come
definitely,
with a hat?
yes, definitely beavers on the brain. And then it just
Yeah.
became this whole thing. And I sent Dawn a matching Bucky's beaver onesie so we could wear
Yeah.
our beaver
For a pajama
onesies together.
party.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. How about you, Cheryl? Do you have any secrets in your books?
Yes, definitely. I am very chatty when I'm writing and hashing out stories and doing things like that. And I do that a lot with my kids. And I did one particularly with my friends. It isn't, I'm trying to think of, there is some in Daughter's Fortune, but the one that popped into my head that made me laugh was in Medusa, when Perseus sneaks up on Medusa, the main character, which is part of the original myth. Um, there is a scene where she hears feet flapping on the ground. That's what she thinks she hears, is she hears feet flapping on the ground. Only if you're within the small circle do you know that it's Perseus's butt cheeks flapping together, because if
Oh,
you've seen the particular sculpture, the boy had a butt. And it's like, and someone said, "How did he sneak up on Medusa with with a butt like that?" And
oh my
so,
gosh.
and so we have that in there, and I just died laughing when I wrote it too, because it's deep. It's like, in the third leg of the book, so it's like
Wow.
way in there. And then there are little things here and there, especially with Daughter's Fortune, because there's kind of a character my kid created that's in here, and he does lots of little funny things or says things that, have a lot of like inside conversation jokes and stuff. But yeah. So yeah, the Medusa one's the one that popped in my head.
We'll never think of Medusa and
Yeah,
Perseus.
Perseus. If you
I know.
don't know what picture I'm talking about, literally just type up a Perseus sculpture of his butt, and you'll see the little meme that's like, it's like, how did he sneak up on the Medusa with that?
Okay. All right. We got another one from Karen. What book is currently on your bedside table? Cheryl, why don't you answer that one first?
I have a kind of a Jane Austen fan fiction. It is the Pride and Prejudice mysteries, and I believe it's
Oh,
the first in the
fun.
series. And my
Okay.
sister gave me that one, and
Oh, fun.
we're all avid readers, and she is very good at like reading stuff and then going, okay, you're gonna like this, and hands it over. So we have our own little book exchange. I have 5 sisters, so
Oh, wow.
Yeah, me too. I have 4
yeah,
sisters and 1 brother. So I
yeah,
feel you.
yeah, yeah.
How about you,
I
Dawn? What
can't
book is on your bedside table?
um I I don't know the name of it. I bought a bunch or of them. I bought a bunch from a secondhand store and because I just went nuts. I mean, they were like 10 cents. So I have a ton. I don't know. Can't tell you.
Okay.
Sorry. I just grabbed all the books that looked good and that's where they are. I'm sorry.
All right.
That's
Now,
horrible.
Karen has given us way more questions than we're going to be
Yes.
able to answer
Oh,
right
yeah.
now.
Mhm.
I will pick one more before Cheryl reads. We'll go with this one. What inspired you to start writing?
Mhm.
Who wants to go
Yeah,
first?
I'll go first because I
Okay.
think you already know anyways. My husband. I smuggled in my 200th book into, and I was really proud of the fact that this is my 200th book, and I smuggled it in. We were like a young couple, so money was tight. And he said, "Why don't you write these books and make us money instead of spending all of our money on them?" And I thought, maybe I can. So
Mhm.
I wrote my first book because I was really good at academic writing, which just two different monsters. But yeah, and then it was all just kind of snowballed from there.
Yep,
It's all history.
that's right.
Yeah.
How about you, Cheryl?
Well, I've got a two-pronged one. I would say writing has always been part of me. I was raised on literary, everything from Sherlock Holmes and Piers Anthony, which is the humor that you always find in my books. And, I love Jane Austen. And I read Frank Herbert's Dune. That was probably a big change book for me because it was beautiful. And I realized that you could just create this whole world. And so, and the very inspiring moment probably would have been my senior year when I wrote. The assignment was to go ahead and write a first person narrative of a third person scene. And so we had to figure out how we were telling the story of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight from our point of view, but we weren't involved in the story. And so I came up with this elaborate idea that she saw all of it through dreams. And so she's telling the story, but she's also dealing with her family thinking she's gone crazy. And, I did all this and everything. And I went completely wild with it. Not only did I type it out, and this is early ages, people weren't typing things, but my hands, I couldn't write, so I learned to type very on. And I typed it all out, but then I decided because it was historical, because it was set in Old England, this is an Old English story, I hand wrote all of it because there were diary entries. I hand wrote all of it on paper, key stained it, folded it up, put a wax seal on it, and then tied them all, burnt the edges,
Uh-huh.
tied them all up, and handed that in with the assignment.
Oh, fun.
Wow.
Did you get an
and
A?
Oh yeah. Not only did I get an A, Mrs. Ballard just absolutely gushed. She said it was an amazing story. It swept her away. She could not believe, how amazing it was, and she shared it with all of the English teachers
Oh,
in the
wow.
high school, and including the English teacher that I fought with, which was my junior teacher. My senior English teacher was English Lit. My junior English teacher was grammar. And if we go
Oh,
back to me being dyslexic, and I
mhm,
Yeah.
didn't know it at the time, we
mhm.
fought tooth and nail. And
Yeah.
when I left that classroom of hers my junior year, she was ecstatic. So when I was talking to Mrs. Ballard, and Mrs. Ballard told me in front of Mrs. Irby, she was
Mhm.
like, "Hey, I handed it to everyone," and Mrs. Irby just kind of looked at me, and she was this super tall, fiery, red-haired woman, and she was, and I this, and she just kind of paused for a minute. She's like, "It was really, really good." And I could just feel that she was like, "Even though you drove me crazy, this is
Uh-huh.
really
Yeah.
good, and you shouldn't stop."
Yeah.
And then the second part, which is real quick, I'll get to so I can do my reading. But the second part of that was just last year. I'm disabled. I have autoimmune diseases, and I could no longer work anymore. And so I was looking for a new job that I could do with my condition, and I came up and I got headhunted for writing. And my kid looked at me and said, "Just do it. Just just write. It's
Mhm.
what you've done your whole life. It's what
Mhm.
you're good at. This is your time." And it was really hearing that from them. And they're, 19, and,
Mhm.
they were like, "This is your time." And it was just the universe lined up. And it has been an amazing ride. I'm not kidding when I say 30 days later I made $800 in sales just from
Wow.
being
Awesome.
able to jump into it and do it. I
Mhm.
just lined it up right.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
so I've been really excited about that, and but yeah, that's what inspired my writing. So the teacher and my kid.
Awesome.
Good. Both good answers. So,
Yes.
yeah.
All
Well,
Well,
should
right.
should
we
we
hear
get
from
to?
Cheryl? Yeah.
Yes. Yep. All right, sir. We're gonna pop you up
Luckily,
there. You're gonna be by yourself, and we'll be muted.
okay, sounds good. Luckily, it's a short chapter, so if you need to ask her questions, you can. And again, this is Daughter's Fortune, not a pirate book, and this is the first in the Not a Pirate series. There will be three. First chapter one. It's a man's world. Jeannot politely pushed her way through the standing crowd as best she could in skirts and red shoes. She blew the curls around her face out of her eyes and grunted once or twice before reaching her destination. She looked over the wooden banister beyond the crowded seats below, and then even further to the square where the officials sat. Couldn't we get a seat? She sighed at her companion. You are not permitted, he replied. Well, that is just ridiculous, she went on. Every day I find a new place I can't go. Jean-Pierre smirked. Wait till they call your name. This was not a statement. This was a moment of anticipated mirth at the look on their faces when they realized who she was. She smirked back. That is always an enjoyable moment. The gentleman to her left looked at her with odd curiosity, and she flashed him a brilliant smile that distracted him completely. He began to introduce himself when a great rapping sound silenced the hall. Far below in the square, a man read silently from a list of charges before clearing his throat and saying, this session is for the charges of smuggling, piracy, and illegal transportation of unauthorized goods. Jeannot leaned toward Jean-Pierre. Are those all not the same thing? They're British, he replied. Their laws are redundant. She snorted. Quite. The voice below continued, including any contestation of fines, levies, and confiscation. The man tipped back his wig to itch his sweating head. Will Jean? He paused, reading the name more closely and conferring with a colleague. What is this name? He asked quietly. His colleague reviewed the name and said, I think that is French. But is that Dutch? Either way, I really don't care. Just call it out and get it on with. The bailiff nodded and continued. Jean Ulrich Sin. Jeannot rolled her eyes, but then raised her voice to ring clearly over the crowd. I. There was an audible shuffling of heads and bodies as they turned their eyes toward the back of the hall. She lifted her fan, waved at the officials, and then gave them a small curtsy. The bailiff looked confused and repeated the name. Captain John Ulrichsen. She lifted her chin, allowing the light to shine on her elegant neck. It is Captain Jeannot Ulrichsen, and I am she. She allowed the usual murmur of astonishment to flow through the crowd, but kept a serene smile on her face and looked directly at the presiding judge. The judge examined her. She was French in features, from her high cheekbones and sharp nose, but held the height of a Netherman. He waved a hand and declared, Please escort the captain to the main floor so I do not have to bellow. Exiting through the masses was easier than their original entry. She maintained elegance as she entered the main floor and stood before the presiding judge. He examined her manner of dress and deduced a woman of fine breeding, but certainly of gentry class. Her skin was pale as fresh cream, and her hair the color and thickness of a lion's mane, with rich, ruddy tones blended with deep golden strands. Nothing about her appearance would suggest she was a sailor, let alone the captain of a ship. He glanced at the man standing next to her, who was long, lanky, had piercing eyes, blue eyes, and was most definitely French. Banged a large rock several times to quiet the hall, then spoke. You are Captain Jean You are the captain of the Daughter's Fortune? I am, she replied. Are you aware of the charges? I am, but they are false. You wish to contest the charges? No, they are false. Blinking hard at her bold yet dulcet tone, he cleared his throat and requested, Bailiff, please list the charges. The bailiff cleared his own throat and said, the Daughter's Fortune was found in possession of several commodities that were found necessary to His Majesty's need and are to be procured. Any refusal is finable by law. But neither I nor my ship are under British rule. The bailiff glared at the interruption but replied, firstly, once you set port in British territory, you are subject to her laws. Which reminds me, who is your sovereign? The sea, she said, and flashed a smile that got a chuckle from the audience. Captain Ulrichsen, only pirates make such claims. Her smile dropped and her demeanor hardened. I solemnly swear I am no pirate, but I was born at sea and will die at sea. He rubbed his brows. Are you Dutch or French? My father is Dutch. My mother... She stopped speaking when Jean-Pierre squeezed her hand. He silently reminded her that the Brits were almost always at odds with France, currently in alliance with the Dutch. To mention her French mother, or that she was technically Catholic, would not be the wisest action. The king may be Catholic, but the government was still Protestant. Are you Dutch? Yes, I'm sure my height gave it away. Or was it my hair? A mixture of laughter and chuckling rippled through the audience. The officer glowered at her unamused. Well then, under current treaties, the Dutch are our allies, and therefore Dutch goods are subject to use by the British for military purposes if necessary. And I assume the British Navy is already in need of commandeering commodities? In this case, yes. She worked hard not to let a frown sit on her face. I still wish to do business with the British, but these commodities are spoken for. If you do not wish to relinquish your commodities, then you can pay the equivalent to the paupers. So my profits suffer either way. Your profits are of no concern to His Majesty, obviously. Madam, I suggest you curb your tongue. Jeannot glared at him, but calmly asked, if I wish to protest these actions? You just did, and it is denied. Relinquish the goods or pay the fine. Your ship will remain in port until you do so, and will continue to pay the port fee until the issue is resolved. He then mentioned to the bailiff to proceed to the next case. The bailiff picked up the next docket, giving her no further acknowledgement. Jeannot took in a deep breath, then with both force and grace exited the chambers. She waited a good distance from the building before starting to fume and produce profanities that Jean-Pierre was accustomed to, but not to those she walked past. Perhaps curse in French, he suggested, and bowed to a passerby who caught snippets of what she said. They were halfway back to the ship before she had recollected herself and started to make an intelligible sense. Unbelievable, she said, as she stopped at a cart and purchased a meat pie. Not really, Jean-Pierre replied. I know, she sighed and took a bite. The pie was no stick hot, and Jeannot tried to pull the bite in her mouth. She finished it and blew on the rest of the pie, but it is still despicable. Agreed. She took another bite. A young street urchin rushed up to her, completely out of breath, and said, Pardon me, miss. Mouth full, she looked down at him quizzically. I have a message for you, ma'am. He brandished an envelope. She took the letter and opened it. A look of shock crossed her face. It's a writ. Our fees have been paid for, Jean-Pierre stuttered. By who? It doesn't say. How odd, and so quickly. Well, I am not one to scoff at fate. If Olaf is back with the new hires, we will sail at tide.
Sorry, we got it.
that my child couldn't hear, my youngest couldn't hear when they were little, so we had to do sign, and this was finished. We're all done.
Yeah, I can't unmute you, Dawn, because you muted yourself. Oh, there you
Yep,
go.
I
Okay.
got it. Yep.
All right, there we go. We're all back.
Yeah.
Very nice. I could totally see that scene, and I like the way that you read it too, because you definitely gave, the inflections and everything as if you were
Yes.
a bailiff of, English descent and everything. So yeah, that was
I
fun.
think my favorite one when I read that is when the street urchin comes up. I don't even think about it. I just suddenly get in that little Cockney accent, just a little.
Yep. No, that was fun, and I definitely liked the line that maybe she should curse in French. That was fun.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing that with us tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. And we actually do have a couple questions. So, because now I know that we're like getting close to time, so I'm going to get a couple more of them up here before we have to cut things off. All right, let's see. Karen says, "What do you think is the best way to improve writing skills?" So, Cheryl, why don't you take that one first?
Read other people's work.
Mm. That's
And
a good
read your
one.
own work over and over again.
Yeah.
Great.
Out loud.
Yeah, I mean, every time I read a book, I hear like this sentence. I read like these sentences that I think this is an amazing sentence. I have to write this sentence. And then I get distracted from reading books because now I have to go back and I have to find a powerful sentence that I need to put in my book. Yeah. That's a good one. Good one. And I would say just write and take classes and write some more and get an editor that tells you what you're doing wrong and is lovingly mean to you. Doesn't
Yeah.
make you cry, but
Gently constructive,
gently mean.
gentle constructive criticism.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think those are both really good suggestions. I think, yeah, reading what and I would say also like reading depending on what you're writing. I know a lot of us writing romance, we're writing genre fiction, and so like read what's selling well in the genre that you're looking, that you'd like to
Well,
write
know
in.
your genre. No, if you
Right.
have
Yeah.
Right. And there are a lot of courses and things that you can take. Margie Lawson's classes come to mind. I don't know if either one of you have taken any of Margie Lawson's classes, but she spends a lot of time just talking about like the power of sentences and even the order you put your sentences in or different I don't know, it's late here and I've driven for 2 days, but just different tactics and things you can do like alliteration and things like that you can
I think two really
incorporate.
good primary books I use and recommend are Ursula Le Guin's How to Write and To Save the Cat. I think because one teaches you to understand how grammar works. So, I would stop fighting with Mrs. Irby in 11th grade. And then the other one teaches you how to tell a story well. Because it's really important, because we have it in our head. We just have to figure out how to explain it to everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting angle because when I first read that question, immediately I'm thinking of actual writing, like how you're putting the words on the page, not necessarily story structure. So yeah, when it comes to story structure, I mean, oh my gosh, there are a ton of resources for that too. So yes, but both very worthwhile to improve your craft and everything. So good question, Karen. All right, let's see. We did have one from Tiana. Let's see. She wanted to know if you could be a character in one of your books, who would it be and which book and why? And if not one of your books, any other one? I'll put the other part up here. Well, I think it's, if you can't pick one of your own characters, then, then
I would be Elizabeth or Lisbeth from Whitewater Passion. because I love how brave she is, and she's not
Mhm.
afraid um, to do what she needs to do to protect those that she loves, and
Mhm.
along the way, she meets her hero, so, yeah,
Mhm.
I loved Elizabeth, and I think that's the one. That's who I
Mhm.
would be.
She's the one who I don't wanna spoil anything, but isn't she the one who goes to the camp and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You
I
can say that, that's okay, that's at the very
Oh,
beginning of the book,
okay.
so
She dresses up. This is an American
Yeah,
historical, but she disguises herself as a man so
a
that she can go
lumberjack,
to
yeah,
the logging camp and everything. So, yeah, I didn't wanna give
yeah,
it away, but
to
yeah,
protect her brother. Yeah.
yes, I enjoyed that book too. So, how about you, Cheryl?
It would probably be Jeannot. I
Mhm.
mean, she's a badass sailing lady, you know, and
Yeah.
she
She
gets what
sounds like yeah, she would
yeah.
be a handful.
Mhm.
My kid coined her as a chaotic bisexual on a gay cruise with her best friends. So
That's a lot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, very
yeah,
descriptive.
pretty much,
Very,
you
very
know.
descriptive way to put it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So it is a combination in the book. There is that, there's a lot of wit, there's a lot of fun, but it is heavily staunched in history and
Mhm.
written in the style and everything. But, like you could already tell, there's a lot of humor in it, but it's still very, like, it has a very serious storyline going on at the
Mhm.
same time.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Both excellent answers. And on that note, Dawn, we're kind of out of time.
Yeah, we're over.
yeah.
And if my
Go by
computer
fast.
my computer is correct, we are, yeah, over. Good
Mhm.
time. Great.
Yep, I know. We warned Cheryl that the time would go fast, and it
Oh,
always
yes.
does. It always goes by super quickly. So
I love doing this. I absolutely adore doing interviews. So,
this was a lot of fun. Yeah. And you both have giveaways up. You want to remind everyone what you are giving away and what they need to do to enter over on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page?
Sure. I
yes.
think
Yes.
I'm giving away um Saved by the Everyday Hero and Saved by the Fire Chief ebooks, and I believe follow on TikTok, either me or Romance Happy Hour.
Okay.
And I have the ebook for Daughter's Fortune that I will be giving away. And all you need to do is to go to my webpage, clgtrent.com, and sign up for our newsletter. And so if you do that, we'll make sure that we pull from that list and get that out to you.
Great. And
Perfect.
all of the info on that is on our Facebook page. So if you're listening to this afterwards, go ahead and head over and you can get in on that.
Mhm.
So thanks, both of you. Happy
Yeah.
release week to you, Dawn
Thank
and Cheryl.
you.
We look forward to seeing more of your stories coming off of Ella and coming out in ebook form. So
Yes, if you use the link-free link, you can connect to all the stories I have available. I have the book info available, and I have all the available links. So you can just click on it and jump right.
Awesome.
okay,
Perfect.
great.
And happy release week to you too, Dylan.
Thanks. I know it's been a big week, huh?
And technically, my hardback went out on the 5th, so all of it.
Great.
Oh
Well, there you go.
wow!
It's
Yay!
a trifecta
Yeah.
of books released this week.
Deanna said you didn't answer the question, Dylan, so you're gonna have to message her with an answer to the question.
Oh, she did. I didn't see that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about it. Who would I be? I'll think about it. I'll
Okay.
post on the page.
Okay. All right. With that, we will see you next month,
I know.
right?
Yeah, we don't have a show because the fourth
We don't.
Thursday falls on Thanksgiving. So
Thanksgiving.
And that would mean
American
Christmas falls
Thanksgiving.
on.
mhm.
Yep. Yep. So we
Right?
only
Because
have
they're
one
a
more
month
show for
apart.
the end of the year, and we're still trying to decide what else we're gonna do. So yeah, stay
Mhm.
tuned. See what fun we're gonna have on December. I don't even know the dates. I don't know when the first starts, so I'm gonna say the second Thursday in December.
Yes.
We'll see
Yes.
you then.
Yes. That's
I
safe.
won't give a date. All right, we will see you later.
Okay.
Bye.